What's up, creators? So I just finished recording this video and I found out OBS switched my microphone settings, so let's do it again before I lose it. Here we have all the code and we can take it and discard all changes. Yeah. Alright, let's do this one more time. So in this video, let's reload all that. We're going to make the login state stay logged in across app cycles. So if we check this, we can log into our account no problem, whether we do it with email or any other way. But if we refresh, you'll see it takes you back to the login screen. That's not ideal because every single time you open the app or something, you're gonna have to log in. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do instead is have something like this. So when you enter the app, we go to a Root Widget that checks the state of our authentication. If we're not logged in, as the user log in. If we are logged in, go to the home screen in our case. So we have two tasks for this video. One, we want to keep people logged in across app cycles, so create a Root Widget. Upon startup, go to Root Widget, retrieve the current user, and if it exists, go to the home screen. And if it doesn't, go to login screen, of course. And we also are going to sign the user out of Firebase because these two changes kind of go hand in hand. So let's get into the code for the second time. We're going to want to add a new screen. We'll call that root. Inside our root screen, we need a file called root.dart. And I put it in the screens folder because even though it's technically not a screen, I like to think of it as like a blank screen that we want to go to this screen, and based on what's going on, we want to go to a different screen. So that's why I put it in the screens folder. But I guess you could maybe have an argument for putting it in the widgets folder. But you are returning a screen, so that's my argument for it. So we're going to name it our root and implement all that stuff. So in this, we were going to want to have two states for auth status. We're going to have not logged in and logged in. And the base state, what we start off as, we want to always start in the not logged in state, because we don't want the user to accidentally get to the home screen without them being authenticated. So before we go any further, let's go to the main screen and change this login to our root. And we can remove this as well. And you might see some problems here, which is expected. But then in the root screen, we're going to create a return here. We're going to have a widget, ret val as I like to call it, and then return ret val. And then we'll have a switch case, and based on auth status, we will return the appropriate screen. So let's do auth status dot not logged in, and then auth status for logged in. If we're not logged in, or the return value should be the login screen, our login. And if we are logged in, our return value should be home screen. Great. So when do we want to change this? We want to change this whenever the dependencies change or upon initialization, but I did dependencies change because it seems a little safer. So this is basically anytime you enter the screen or something changed within the dependencies of this screen, this will be executed. For us, we want to make sure this is asynchronous. And then inside, we're going to want to do a couple things. You're going to need to get the state, check the state, check current user, and set auth status based on whatever, based on state. So before we do that, we need to implement the actual state, or the actual function that will get called to check whether the user is logged in. So here we're going to set up like all our other functions, future returning a string, and we'll call this on startup. So the return value will be default to error, and then return what's wrong here? Oh, that's fine. Try catch. That wasn't fine, actually. We need the asynchronous term. Here we're just going to print E. We don't need to really return the string because we're not going to be showing it to the user. And then in here we want to try and get the current user. So we want to return the Firebase user. And the way we get that is by await, and then take the auth that we have up here and just do get or current user. And pretty much that simple. So we can, once we get that current user, we set the UID to Firebase user.uid and email to Firebase user.email. And then also the return value should be success. Right. So there we have our startup function. So in our root screen now, we could get the, oh, we don't need that yet. So current user equals provider dot of context, and we don't want to listen to it. We're not going to change UI based on the response from this or the state change. I mean, so here current user, and on that current user state we want to call the on startup event, and this will return a return string need to await it as well. Then if the return string is equal to success, we want to set the auth status equals auth status dot logged in. Also, we want to set state for that. We don't really need to use provider for the set state because this is all, we want this state to only be within the root widget. We don't want it to be able to be changed anywhere else other than in this screen. So there we go. Now if we refresh, I'm not sure what our current status is, but we will find out. And we are currently logged in. And then if we change this to not logged in and refresh, it'll take us back to the screen. So there we go. This should work now. But you saw the problem that we have. Not really a problem overall, but a problem currently. We can't get back to this screen with our current implementation. So I think it could be nice to add a simple sign out button as well. So we'll have a center with a child, a raised button, and that's going to have a child of text that says sign out. And then we can have an on pressed that signs the person out. So for the on pressed, we will need provider again, and we're going to return the current user. Provider.of context, and once again, you don't need to list the state. We just want to act upon it. Act upon the return of this. So current user will be in there. And now we want to add a sign out function. Sign out function is very simple as well. Kind of like the startup, we'll do sign out. So all this, except we will do await and auth dot sign out. Only difference here is we will just set the UID to null and set the email to null. And now in the home screen, we should be able to call that event sign out. Have a return string. Wait. And I think we could just add it here, even though that's not very nice, but who cares? And then if our return string is equal to success, we will go back to the login screen. One thing we're going to do new here is we're going to do navigator.push and remove until. This will remove every screen layer that there is, except for the one that we're going to send it to. So here we're going to send it to a material page route, builder, context, and we're going to send it to our root. Notice we're not sending it to the login screen because we want the root screen to be in charge of all that function on which screen it wants to go to. So now if we sign out, it should take us to this screen. And then one more thing I want to add is take this push and removed until and copy it into the login screen, because if we're able to log in, let's just do it with Google because it's simpler. You're going to see you go here and there's a back button. We don't really want that. So let's, in the login form, instead of just pushing the home screen, let's also add this and then change it to home screen. So now if we sign in, we're going to be in the home screen. We can refresh and it should still be in the home screen. So every time the user closes and reopens the app, it will have the last state and it will make it very easy on the user. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. I'm glad I got it on the second try. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure to leave in the comments. I'll try to get to all of them. This code will be on GitHub if you want to use it. And thank you for watching.